brachiocefalic on the
Yeah,
base.
that's superior vena
cava.
cava.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, brachiocephalic. Should be this side here. So brachiocephalic, slightly different on the veins. Now you've got on the veins, you've got one on either side that's going to go into the body. One here is going to, the one on your right, cat's right side is going to be lower than the one on the cat's left side. These are your vertebral, no, costovertebral. In the artery, you have a vertebral and a costocervical. You have two going into the body on both sides. So the first one's going to be your vertebral, and the second one will be your costocervical.
Probably see better on the screen.
That's actually what I'm using.
Yeah. I've been looking at the screen because it's easier for me to even see it.
This one.
Like zooms it in.
I'm not sure where your first one is.
What are you looking for?
The second one of these that are going into the body.
I found it at one point. It is there.
Looking for the artery or the vein?
The artery.
Oh,
Here
yeah,
we've
they're
got
right
two.
next to each other.
So the first one's going to be vertebral, these tiny little guys, and costocervical right next to it.
Mine are on two different sides of the artery. It's weird.
Yeah, sometimes they do that.
Okay.
They're always, the
that's
branches
okay.
are always kind of weird. So two that go into the body on the arteries, only one that goes into the body on the veins. One big one. So vertebral costocervical versus costovertebral.
That makes sense.
Okay, now I guess let's do veins. So brachiocephalic, subclavian comes after, and the arteries comes subclavian comes after. So in the arteries, you look for external jugular and subscapular, subclavian, and then axillary after your subscapular.
Okay.
Versus arteries, first you've got your thyrocervical. Subclavian came before your thyrocervical. Now you've got axillary. And your subscapular, unlike the veins, which is way up here, subscapular is way down here. So you've got your VLTs. What's VLT stand for?
Ventral long thoracic, and dorsal.
Right. So on the vein, that's going to come after your subscapular. On the arteries, your VLTs typically come before your subscapular. The T doesn't always come before your subscapular, depending on how your cat is. So
My V is weird. It might be missing.
yeah, I think you were one of
I
the
think
ones.
it used to be right there. Maybe.
See, and I think that's just an open portion. I think that got into, see how that's kind of open still? That's part of your axillary still.
Okay.
So this, I would say, is still V, L, and this is what happens in a lot of cats. See this one going into the latissimus dorsi? The T is always going to go into your latissimus dorsi, veins and arteries. So in this case, it's coming off the subscapular instead of off the axillary. That happens a lot. It's really confusing. So if you don't find a little nub up here on your axillary, it's probably coming off your subscapular. That's weird. So axillary and then brachials, and this one too. This should be V. This nub, L, and T is the one going down this way towards the latissimus
With no
dorsi.
dye.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So these big guys,
External jugular.
this little one,
Internal jugular. Your internals are nice.
and then this artery coming up this way that we just said a minute ago.
The thyrocervical.
And then what branches off of that?
Transverse scapular.
Right. So you have a thyrocervical in an artery. You don't have a thyrocervical in a vein. You just have a transverse scapular that comes off. Whereas the arteries, you have thyrocervical, then transverse scapular. Okay, and then what's the nerve that goes all the way up and down? And what's the one that turns? That's probably this one that turned. Should have turned. Okay, so that's all those. What about these?
Anterior and posterior facial.
And what's this one?
Transverse jugular.
Now there is a cat in the first section that has the
Inferior thyroid.
inferior thyroid, which will look like a single string coming up like this, and then it'll
On
branch
the
right
windpipe?
here. And it'll be right on top of the trachea.
Yes. Even though we're never going to see that cat until the day of the test.
You should be aware of it.
You should know it. Yeah.
What are these little guys in here that are going to be blue?
The pulmonary artery.
Yes. Which I can't really see very well.
Pulmonary veins don't have latex.
Where's the eyes?
Azygos?
Azygos is under.
That's this big guy right here.
Are you guys gonna be able to? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
It's huge. We would just move things out of the way. So this is your azygos, your big guy going down here.
I'm trying to cut down my terms.
All right.
Did she already do lower body?
No. And then, what time is it? I'm going to come back to the heart just based on time.